This company, I remember when one of the first things that we in the early days when we started in multimedia, it would cost us close to 300,000 naira back in 1994 to build a computer, components of a computer. We used to buy RAM for 75,000 naira. Now index that to the naira value at the time, which was like 1.8. And you see the amount of money that we must have spent building systems to allow us to drive multimedia presentations. Our first projector was bought at about $8,000 in 1994. And that projector has less power than the flashlight on your phone. It was 150 lumens. And it was $8,000. So today we buy these things at a fraction of that price. I think that we're going to get to the point inevitably where everybody will have access to a device that is under $50. And at that point it will proliferate. So imagine, rather than think about whether we are moving fast enough or not, think of a time when every single person is going to be connected. And when they're connected, and they'll be connected through high speed, and the possibilities of what we can drive through there. And that's where I was referring to the processes that we go through. Our country is suffering, I think, in some ways from trying to avoid what we need to go through. We've kind of like tried to avoid the scientific revolution, where people, and science is not just the products, it's a way of thinking. So when we look at a lot of the things that are being done in the country today, we find that there's an absence of an analysis, lack of scientific rigor in trying to understand the challenge that is available, that's presenting itself to us. The acceleration that we would like to have seen in the startup ecosystem, for instance, is disconnected from the past. It's as though startups just emerged from nowhere. There was no ICT industry before. If you don't have proper grounding and you launch a startup, the end result is going to be faster failure. My view is that we cannot afford the level of failure, business failure, that exists in other developed economies. We have to be much more efficient in the way that we use the resources that we have. There are fewer students, there are fewer computers, there's less internet access, there are less skilled people. So when you have less, you have to learn how to do more with the little that you have. So we cannot take the model of a Silicon Valley and transport it to Yaba or Calabar or Kano and expect that it's going to work. No, we have to think very constructively around what are the constraints that we have, the reality, and not about blaming people, but what do we currently have.
Okay, so finally, you're a member of bodies like NCS and ISPON. What are you doing to work with the startups?
We're doing a lot, and we'll continue to do plenty. ISPON, for instance, the Institute of Software Practitioners of Nigeria, has successfully run an international conference for 5 years consecutively in Calabar. And part of that conference was our engagement with Software Club.
But it sort of stopped with the last administration.
Well, a lot of things stopped with the last administration, but they don't stop forever. I think it just takes a little bit of time for us to get that momentum back again. But when you think about what we did, we used to bring nearly 600 people, young people from across the universities, to one location, working in direct contact with professionals and mentoring them and guiding them through the development process of solutions to current problems in our environment. And for us to have done that consecutively for 5 years with amazing support from cross-river state governments at the time, Governor Imoke at the time, I mean, it was exciting. You just needed to sit with these young people and see. And this is different from this hackathon stuff that we see that's going on around the country, where there's, I call them, unfortunately, hackathon junkies. You know, you have young people jumping from one place to another. There has to be a systematic way of taking young people with ideas and nurturing and guiding them. Now you ask, what are we doing? So we can help a lot, but it's an ecosystem. A lot of the stuff that's happening in places like Yaba is infected with this, I don't know what it's called, the virus of newness, and disconnecting with what they probably see as the old. That's not a problem, but I think if we were scientific in our approach, we would discover that all the ecosystems that are successful across the world are integrated, the old with the new and the new with the future.
Thankfully, my guest is optimistic about the possibilities, but is calling for more strategic approach towards technology development in the country. Honestly, I share in this optimism because we have no choice but to build new homegrown solutions that will solve some of our biggest challenges. We've come to the end of today's show. Do follow us on social media. And don't forget, you can watch these and previous editions of the show on the channel's TV YouTube account or via my blog cfatech.ng. For Tech Trends, I'm Chukwemeka Agbata.